thank you again for being here, Michelle Duffy, sitting down with us. We'd like to get to know you a little better and talk to you a little bit about your experience with Leap of Faith. So first, tell us a little bit more about Michelle.
It's like the $60,000 question. What's so fascinating is that I feel like I've spent the last couple of years of my life actually really trying to figure out what that is. And the pandemic, of course, has, I think, slowed everyone down and put everybody into the position of, so it's like we're all living that question in chorus line. Yeah. What do you do when you can't dance anymore? You know, it's like, what? I think that what's been wonderful about having this time is that when you are so caught up in the hustle of all of it, and, you know, it's not just, I mean, if you're lucky to just be going job to job to job and just being creative and getting to create, but so much of it is about the hustling and the auditioning and the holding down other jobs while you're doing, you know, to be able to pull yourself out of that for a little while and get to do things that you don't normally get to do, which for me is actually spend time with family members that I don't get to see that much anymore. Getting time to do volunteer things that I've always wanted to be doing. I volunteered for quite a while with Animal Friends in Pittsburgh. It's this great animal shelter. Really learning about animal behavior, figuring out what it means to help rehabilitate animals for adoption, something that I'm really passionate about.
You have some Northeast Ohio ties, correct?
I do.
Yes.
This is where I got my college education at Kent State University.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I got myself a BFA in musical theater.
Nice.
Also my first professional performing gig, besides, you know, the bands and stuff that I used to sing in, was Cedar Point in Duffy, Ohio. Great. I was in America Sings 1986.
Oh, fantastic.
Rock on. Yeah.
Now, what was it that really started you off with your interest in theater? What sparked the fire, so to speak?
I swear I was born with a fire. I swear. There was a lot of listening to Jesus Christ Superstar and Godspell in the house. And so at a very, 3 and 4 years old, my sisters were like dressing me up, and we were acting out. Like we would act out all of Godspell or act out all of Jesus Christ Superstar. And I never had seen any of it. We knew the music, that the passion and the drama of the music. Like Godspell, like my sisters would laugh because I would always be the turn back, oh man girl. So I would always be the one twirling my pearls at 3, 4. And then I actually saw a production of Godspell at our high school. I think I was in 5th grade. And I knew the music so well. I knew it inside and out. And I knew how I felt about it. But I will never forget going and sitting in that seat and watching it unfold around me, and watching the sweat and the passion and the commitment and the way it was moving everybody around us in a way that I hadn't interpreted before, my little kid mind. And I was sobbing, and I knew then that this is how this works. This is the way it comes out. This is how it comes alive. And look how it happens. Look what this whole room is like electrified. And I knew then that that's what I was going to do.
You were involved with the first production of Leap of Faith.
Yeah.
The subject of this episode of our project.
Yeah.
So you were involved with Leap of Faith from the very beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't involved in like the original like showcase readings, like the workshops of it in New York initially, but when it got its first production, they did it in Los Angeles, and that's where I was living at the time. And so I had auditioned for it out there and got cast from LA, which was always the way I decided it was going to work. I had decided for a while that I don't know that I need to go to New York. I had established myself in Chicago and then Los Angeles, and I was kind of like, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to go to New York. If I'm going to go to New York, I'm going to go with a job. And so it was like, okay, this is the way it's going to work. Yeah.
And so it became. What are some of the parts of that experience that you remember most fondly? And whether they're the same things or not, are there experiences that really set the Leap of Faith productions apart from your other experiences throughout your career?
You know, that's a really great question, because that is actually one of the most significant discoveries I made. I thought, I mean, and it's like if you're doing it in a regional house, you know, there's money limitations, or there's whatever. You're seeing what works, what doesn't work, the frustrations that are involved in it, and you always think, well, Broadway is going to be, if this were Broadway, it'd be, you know, different. Or that I always think of one of my favorite sports movies is Bull Durham. This is going to be a weird reference if nobody knows it, but there's this whole conversation on the bus about going to the show. That like when you move up to the show, all of your practice balls are white, and they carry your luggage for you, and it's like everything's easier, and it's all like gleaming and wonderful, like in your dreams. And so I remember thinking, once we started really getting into the nitty-gritty of building Leap, that it's no different. It's the same. It's like it's the same frustrations. It's the same obstacles you come against. It's the same personality clashes. It's the same things that you go through. And so I was so much more prepared for it than I even thought I was, and also surprised by how it doesn't matter, you know, at what level you are. It's the creative process is still all of those things. The difference with Broadway is that there's so much more money involved. There's so much more pressure on it. There are so many more cooks in the kitchen.
We talked a little bit about the relevance of Leap of Faith, the material itself. What really makes it relevant to today's audiences?
I think that the struggle, the struggle with faith, the struggle with what it costs to have it, what it costs not to have it, how you arrive at it and keep it, all of that is incredibly relevant right now. I mean, there's the struggle throughout the story of, like, you know, what is it costing these folks to be given some of this, even if it's through nefarious means, that somebody's got an ulterior motive or is taking their money, even though they're with what little they have. How different is that from any church? It's selling faith. It's bringing somebody to a place of hope, and that is that worth the money that they're paying if they get something out of it? You know, all that, those questions, that's age old. What I hadn't anticipated, and I just, there was no way to understand it until it happened, was the absolute magic of opening that show, of opening any show on Broadway. But that show in particular for me, because it was my first experience, the power of ritual and the power of what an overwhelming, like humbling, beautiful, like out-of-body experience it was to be standing on that stage on opening night, the theater where Oklahoma debuted, the theater where Hello Dolly opened, and The King and I, and The Who's Tommy, and there are so many rituals that they don't really even tell you about. If you are making your debut on Broadway, they put you in the center of the circle of everybody, you know, everybody in the production, all the writers, all the directors, everybody, you're in the center of the circle, and there's an invocation about that too. You become part, like literally part of the history of that theater, of the storytelling of this American art form. You are becoming part of that, of history. And it is it's one of the most beautiful, it's the most beautiful moment, I think, of my career. And I've had so many beautiful moments, but that hit me out of the blue. I didn't know about that. I didn't know what that was. And once in a lifetime experience, and I will never, ever, ever forget it or take it for granted. It's amazing.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for sitting down with us Thank you for sharing with us your experiences.
Oh,
And
it's totally my pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
well, and we're happy to have you.
And I love this theater, so
Well,
I'm
thank you.
looking forward to coming back
so
and
do
seeing
we.
more and more.
We're really looking forward to the day when we can invite everybody back in. So again,
Me too.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.